Other than my main talking points, this video has not been scripted out at all. This is completely from the heart. Content creators frequently get ignorant comments from keyboard warriors who will say things to you online that they would never say to you in person. And I typically can deal with that pretty well. Most things don't get to me. You can call me fat, ugly, ignorant, whatever. It's not going to faze me. But I'd be lying if I said that there was nothing that bothered me. And we're going to talk about one of those things today. Because this isn't scripted, I don't know what direction this video is going to go in. I don't know what the final tone of the video is going to end up being, so ride it out with me, and hopefully this will resonate with some people. Some of you may have seen a video I just put out about the media's negative perception about drivers. And in doing that video, that video actually took about 2 or 3 weeks total to make between scripting, researching, filming, editing. So I was in that video a good chunk of time. When I was doing the research phase for that video, I decided to put out a few short form videos, YouTube shorts, and see what kind of a reaction I would get from customers. So those videos, in my opinion, were not belittling. They weren't disrespectful. Anyway. So I had a handful of customers that were very receptive to the message, and you know, obviously, all the drivers were very supportive of the message as well, right? Like I'm telling customers to tip, right? Of course, drivers are going to be supportive of that. However, I caught a ton of hate from customers. You know, they could say whatever they want, right? But the thing that I heard the most in the comments on that video was to get a real job. And that gets under my skin. And we'll get into why a little later in the video. Before we go any further, I want to talk about a conversation I was having on the phone maybe 3 or 4 days ago with somebody who I'm very close to and somebody who I love dearly. The conversation was just, you know, rambling, catching up, you know, hey, how you doing? How you been? What you up to? And in the course of this conversation, this person told me how, and they're in a different part of the country. This person told me how they used to have all this industry where they live and how it had slowly just picked up and moved, you know, factory by factory, right? And there was really not much left. We're going to come back to that conversation a little more later because it's going to be relevant again further in this video, I think. In my opinion, traditional W-2 work is no more stable than gig work is. People get laid off, they get fired, they get outsourced, they get downsized, whatever, right? Companies' headquarters move, you know, the possibilities are endless. A W-2, in my opinion, stands just as high of a chance of something going really wrong as gig work does. I want to read 2 comments that were left on one of my most recent videos, and I feel like they illustrate this better than I possibly could. This comment comes from Barbara. She says, I'm an artist and hear this even from friends sometimes. They forget that I had a real art job for many years, making a lot of money and being miserable in the corporate soul-sucking world. At those real jobs, I saw multiple downsizings, outsourcing, and people getting fired right before retirement, and the corporate buyouts. Whole departments of hundreds of people sacked once we trained our replacements from the new company. Then, there's the relocating of company headquarters. If you even get the option, want to leave your home, community, friends, extended family, anyone? I think Barbara nailed that one. That really, really resonated with me. The next one comes from Styles, and I'm only going to read part of this. I'm going to read the relevant part of this. Styles says, I felt inclined to comment after the statement at the end of the video. I'm currently a DoorDash delivery driver because I'm in between jobs due to a layoff. No, I didn't work in fast food or come out of prison. I'm actually a licensed engineer who has been working in the engineering field for over 20 years. I choose to do this over claiming unemployment or taking a low-paying retail job. I put a lot of effort into what I do. I've bought multiple hot bags and other things to assist with my gig work. Then there was a good friend of my mom's who worked at the same company for 17 years, and all was peachy for those 17 years. Then one day, she was walked into HR, sat down, and told she was fired basically because they were downsizing. There was no 2 weeks notice, anything like that. They literally just sat her down, said, thank you for your service, we're gonna walk you out now. The commute to her next job was 1 hour and 10 minutes one way. She worked for this company for well over 10 years. Long story short, this company decided to relocate their headquarters, so she was given the option to either move And keep in mind, she was already driving an hour and 10 minutes one way to work. So she was given the option to either move or to take a severance package. Fortunately, this time she did have a little bit of notice. She had a couple of months to make up her mind, and she ultimately decided to leave the company. And finally, the next company that she works for, and technically still the company she currently works for, but we'll get into that in a minute. She was working for this company during the lockdowns, and during the lockdowns, this specific company was slammed. So she was shocked when, again, they walked her into HR and told her that they were downsizing and she was on the chopping block. She is back at this company, but she had to go through a temp agency to get back in with them. So much for loyalty to the people who are loyal to you. I know this lady personally, and she's a hard worker. She's a good person. She's dedicated at whatever she puts her mind to. Anyway, this has been my long-winded way of saying that W-2 work is no more secure than gig work is. You can get fired, laid off, whatever, right? And furthermore, they can do it right before retirement. Now I want to jump back to that phone call I was talking about at the beginning of the video. I want to be clear. I don't have any malice towards this person for this anymore. At the time, it really upset me, but I had time to think about it and I'm getting over it. I was on the phone with this person and they were like, hey, how's your online stuff going? And my online stuff being YouTube. And I was like, oh, wow, yeah, it's great. Thank you for asking. It's actually phenomenal. It's growing faster than I ever thought it would. And, you know, I talked it up. And without skipping a beat, the very next thing out of this person's mouth was, you know, if you wanted to come out here, I could probably get you a job at the factory making 18 bucks an hour. I was not pleased when I heard this. I did some quick math and it's like 14 or 1600 bucks a month or something like that at 18 bucks an hour working 40 hours a week. I make more than that on YouTube alone. And that's not factoring in driving and my other sources of income. So for this person to be that dismissive of what it is that I'm doing really sucked. It really, really pissed me off. And I can't expect anybody to know how hard I work, right? Until you're doing it for yourself, right? You're not gonna know. People see a 10, a 15-minute video and they go about their day. What they didn't see was the sometimes days or even weeks that went into making one video. They don't see me up until 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, most nights, scripting or filming or editing. Matter of fact, right now it's almost 11 o'clock at night as I film this video, and this is the first chance I've had to do it. So, to get a real job, I'm not talking about YouTube money to boast or to showboat or anything like that, because I work my ass off for it. People in this niche do quite well on YouTube, and there's a few reasons for that. Our ad rates per 1,000 views are substantially higher than the YouTube average. And the reason for that is all of our viewers are at least 18 years old, you know, because they're drivers, right? They have to be at least 18. All of our viewers are in first world countries. So we don't have viewers in developing nations with lower ad rates, bringing what's known as our CPM down. So we get paid well, right? And for somebody to unintentionally belittle how I earn money because they don't do it for themselves, it bothers me. This is a long-winded way of getting back to the real job comment. So, is DoorDash a real job? Absolutely. Absolutely, it's a real job. Does it pay the bills? If it pays the bills and it's not harming anybody, it's a real fucking job. Never let anybody tell you how you should or shouldn't earn your money. Even me. If you want to drive your car on the ground and accept every order, be my guest. Don't let me tell you any different. I don't think you should, but don't let me tell you any different. The most common thing that I heard on those shorts was get a real job. And I started firing back. I find it funny that it's the people who don't understand that are the ones to say shit like that, right? The ones who will turn around and use the service, right? Not tip a fucking thing, are the same ones who are going to turn around and say, get a real job. This one does. I mean, like I said before, very few shitty things that people say get under my skin, but this is one of them. Because until people do it, they don't understand what we do. They don't know how we make money, and therefore they have no right to get in our business. To anybody who has ever been told to get a real job, I'm there with you, and I understand what that feels like. I'd be willing to bet that most of the people telling us to get real jobs are miserable in their W-2. They don't have the courage to say, fuck the boss, I'm doing my own thing. Anybody who works their ass off and who pays their bills through whatever source of employment that they choose to have has a real job. I respect each and every one of you for getting out there and doing it for yourselves. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. I genuinely appreciate you taking the time to listen. Have a good one.